I guess you wouldn't know it because you didn't see me wake up this morning and jump into the car with a little bit of extra freaking pep in my step. But I'm feeling good about today. I am feeling extra good about today. If there's this like news outlet picture, kind of like a gotcha journalism, or not gotcha, but just what am I saying? Just like a little clickbaity thing, and the premise was like, Texan monk or something like, or Buddhist guy, scientifically determined to be the happiest person on earth. And it was a picture of him, and they had a bunch of like probes on his brain, or not his brain, but on his head, and he's just sitting there chilling. That's what I feel like right now, because I'm feeling good, very well rested, slept in a bit, so I get a little extra recovery, and then I learned my lesson a little bit from yesterday. I did what was basically a fasted quad session. Not awesome. Definitely need to eat at least a little something. I like fasted training when I'm dieting, not because of the fastedness itself, but because when I pose down, I have an empty stomach and I look cool. And also I get to save more of my food for later in the day, Like I'm not doing insane ultra marathon running. I'm not going to give myself rhabdo or anything. But so this morning, wake up at 6, and naturally I'm waking up just way earlier because I don't have as much food in my system. Maybe my recovery is like a little, probably more efficient. Like my, I'll know eventually, but I've been tracking all like really the only metric I care about is the heart rate, like resting heart rate, my breaths per minute, that sort of stuff. In a bulk, especially like kind of the heftier bulks I've done before, all of those metrics are probably way up. So it's I'm definitely in a more inflamed state when I'm gaining size. When I'm dieting, I feel like that's almost like taking it easy. I'm like, okay, I can chill a little. The training's not so crazy. I'm not eating an insane amount of food and forcing it. I can just train and keep burning off some body fat slow. But all that's to say, oh no. And then so I wake up early, have 4 instant packs of oatmeal and a protein bar, one of my really any of your choice. Some are better than others. Definitely be a little concerned about like the allulose and the sugar replacements that they use, because sometimes those will mess with my stomach pretty bad. Like if I eat a bunch of like a diet friendly protein bar or like a low carb protein bar, and it's got a bunch of allulose and like xylitol and sugar, just all sorts of weird, like maybe not lab made, but very strangely derived food-based compounds. It just makes me feel gross, like I'm bloated, and I just feel like kind of nasty. So try to avoid those. If you have one, you're cool, but sometimes I'll have like 4 at once, and then I'm like, oh, just learned my lesson. But I had 1 bar and then 4 of those packs of oatmeal. So 80 grams of carbs, 8 grams of fats from the oatmeal, and then about like 4 grams of fat, 20 grams of carbs. And then sometimes protein bars, it's not the best protein, so sometimes I'll count it as half instead of the whole, whatever amount it says, because there's protein like in a ground beef, and then there's protein in like collagen, and there's protein in just like random assortments of proteins. That's why we say essential amino acids and branch chain amino acids. Essential are a little more complete. It kind of hits every chain. Essential, not so much. Or no, what I'm saying. Branch chain, not so much. That's just a few amino acids. So just something to be wary about. But 80 grams of carbs, actually 100 grams of carbs pretty much this morning after a good night's rest, a whole bunch of a sugar-free lemonade, and then back to bed. So I kind of got a pre-workout meal, carb up nap by just, finishing off a few more hours of sleep. And then now I'm ready for chest. So I'm basically as recovered as I can get right now for sure. And I'm just freaking ready too. So I'm excited. I'm not going to go too crazy or anything. I'm not coming in here like, all right, man, I feel good. Man, I feel strong. All right, let's do 4 plates on incline. Not exactly. Not freaking exactly. More so, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to make sure the movements I do feel really good and I get a lot out of them. So off season, I'm a bit simpler with my approach to the training. I'm going to say I want to do my sets with a ton of intramuscular tension, put a ton of workload through my targeted muscle, and then finish off with some more pump-based stuff just to really, get some, potentially some fascial stretching, right? So like just the process of getting pumped, I think definitely has something to do with the hypertrophy game. It's not like one guy is making a YouTube video right now and he says, here's the exact chemical process explained perfectly step by step on how to grow muscle. It's not that exact yet. As smart as we are, it's crazy. It's like, I feel like muscle gain is like the ocean. Like we know more about the moon than the freaking ocean. But the basics we get. And for me, those basics are go hard, get a pump, eat enough food and sleep well enough to recover, and then come back. And either eat more food if you're trying to grow, or less food if you're trying to maintain your size and lose body fat afterward. So fascial stretching, that idea of like you're getting a pump and now these fibers in your muscles are kind of like expanding. That's literally the name of the Hani Rambod FST7, Fascial Stretch Training 7. I don't know his exact training protocol, but I think nobody's going to try to take away the logic from a Hani Rambod. The dude's been in the freaking world of bodybuilding, training and coaching and Olympia freaking winning for years. I mean, there's a picture of him next to like a young Lee Priest. It's crazy. But all that's to say is I'm very excited about this lift. So I guess I'm not sure, I'll have to see. If I could just list off the movements that I'm doing or that are kind of in my circulation right now, it's a lot of cable press, either bent over or on an inclined bench, and then I'm pressing the cables upward. Standard pec deck, not so much cable flies, I've noticed. Not exactly sure why, but something about it just hasn't really been doing it for me. Some converging chest press, and that's most of it, Incline Smith, I did it a couple days ago in LA, the last day of the expo that night. That was only because it was just like the only movement there. Honestly, I would have got more I would have had a better lift, I think, if I just did the converging plate-loaded chest press on the other side of the gym that I did next, So if you're watching these, and I read the comments, they don't eat at me too bad, of course, but when I see a comment, it's like, oh, Sam, dude, you only did 2 movements for chest. That's not going to work. Well, you got to, and I don't really, like, I'm not going to try to do a back and forth in comment sections. It just never ends well. I really wouldn't recommend it. Because it's like, it's kind of like nobody really wants a real discussion in a comment section of any social media. I think that's if you're going to start posting stuff, don't do that. Just post your stuff and don't worry about it. But it's like, well, what would you do then, right? Because what are my goals? Like I just kind of said, I got to get a pump. I got to, get some baseline activation. I got to go heavy enough that I do work my chest and actually stimulate some, muscle maintenance and everything. But I don't need to go super crazy heavy. And for me to get a pump now, dieting, I don't have so much muscular endurance. I was just telling, I was talking to my buddy Nick at Planet Fitness. He's getting peeled because he's always in there doing his fucking cardio like a beast. And I remember saying, like, yeah, dude, because we were talking about how volume is going to change, like bulked or cut. And right now, I can do 3 plates on the Smith machine for, if I'm like fresh, warmed up, set number 1, I get like 15. But if I go for another set right after, I'm only going to get 10, or maybe like 9 even, So set by set, that's a huge hit. Whereas when I'm fully bulked, I kind of pyramid down, but I'll do like 3 plates and a 25 for 15. And then I'll do 3 plates for 20, or not. Yeah, I wouldn't put it. Yeah, probably around 20ish, maybe 18 or something. And then I can probably do that same set like 3 more times, not crashing the reps in half. But like, okay, 18 on this one, take a few minutes. All right, I only got 16, 50. Like, it's just it's a little easier to kind of get a lift on in a dieting sense, I feel. And it's not a cool way to talk about it. I never want to act like the training's easy, or I never want to like put that idea out there that like taking it easier with your training is any way better. But in a dieting sense, the effort kind of shifts a little bit. When I'm bulking, I want the training to be as nuts as humanly freaking possible, or at least for me. But dieting, I just need the training to be solid, and then the rest of the energy that I would be putting into that training just now gets put into outside of the gym with dieting, so that's where it kind of balances. And since I'm definitely on the spectrum of lifters on the just freaking ego lifter side of things, not like that bad, of course, I'm not really hurting myself anymore or anything stupid, but like I like a heavy lift, I like being in the gym and really killing it. That's the fun part. It does make dieting a little tricky for me. Not for the same reasons that we might normally say of like it's hard to stick to the diet, and you're gonna get weaker. Like it's not even that I care about literally lifting less weight than when I'm bulked up, because I'm not at this point, now that I'm this strong, like I'm not so like I don't feel like I have to prove my strength, like even to myself. Like I just know I kind of got some going on at least. But it's just, there's nothing like the feeling of walking into the gym. You're as heavy as you can be, carbed up on like 750 grams worth of oatmeal rice. You can have some treats in there too. Maybe you've got some Ben & Jerry's waiting for you after the gym. And you just come in like a beast. Like you feel like a freaking hydraulic lift heavy piece of machinery just wrenching steel around. That's a feeling I really like. But I'm okay with kind of putting that on the back burner for the sake of dieting, and it's just it kind of ends up being a good back and forth for me. Because if I only did that and I never dieted and I just said okay, big as possible, huge as, well, then I'd probably be a little more of a perma-bulk Sam, really just fucking just big, like more of kind of balloon-esque, and I'd probably end up just accruing more and more injuries over time, because I'd never have a break from all that heavy shit. Like 5 or 6 months ago, maybe 5, I don't remember exactly, I did like 6 plates for 8 on squats. Right now, since I haven't been squatting and my leg training is much more just isolated, leg extensions, pump work, and 4 plates would probably feel the same as that 6. But next off season, once I start eating some more food, that strength will come back. It's never just gone like that. You're just in a different phase of your training, so be cool with that. I'm not doing all this for me right now, per se. I'm doing it for me in the future. I'm dieting not only because I want to diet now for all these bodybuilding shows and everything, but also because in the future, later down the line this year, I'm going to be primed for another bulk, put on some size, and then even during that phase, I'm just getting ready to build some size up and then diet down again to see where I'm at, So it's as much fun as it is just day by day. It's also fun knowing I'm working towards something later on. So really, the only time it ever like feels like a chore is if I'm on like the last 20 minutes of a cardio session and I'm kind of feeling a little bit tired, But even then, I still want to do it because I get this like ego boost of knowing nobody else is doing their cardio, so it kind of makes me feel extra cool, So it's if I could try to, or if I can sort of pinpoint all those ideas into one thing, in your mind, right, the baller is going to be able to basically just reroute and encrypt and decrypt anything in his day into motivation and hype, no matter where it's coming from. If today I felt like total shit this morning, like really dragging my feet, I don't even know, maybe I had like a freaking nasal or a respiratory infection or something, I don't know, just any random crazy thing hit me out of nowhere, I'd like to think I'd still want to come to the gym and kill it, and just the fact that I had the odds stacked against me a little bit more than normal would make me kind of want to rise to the occasion, So it's like oh man, I don't remember who said this. This is a really good idea. It was like I don't know. The idea is like kill it when everything's going your way, but kill it even harder when shit. Well, I'm kind of repeating myself in that phrase, but go even harder when shit's kind of hitting the fan. Because at the end of the day, you're probably not going to regret having killed it. No one ever does a year of locking in calories, cardio, gym, depending on the person and how long they've been training, or if they've ever trained at all, 1 year of training, they can be a completely different looking guy. Like if you took a picture, if you had 2 pictures of the dude, maybe you gave him a haircut too or something, in 1 year, you could think these are just 2 different pictures of somebody. No one has ever done that and then got to that end year mark and whatever gains or progress they made and said, I wish I didn't do any of that. I wish I didn't do any of that. I wish I didn't lose 100 pounds of body fat. That was the worst decision I ever made. If that's ever happened, I'd love to hear it, because I really don't think so, you know. But yeah, now I'm a little bit of a longer ramble, but I'm just feeling excited. So how about we get started and then see what kind of chest pump 49 days out is giving us. All right. So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to start with, but I think I've got an idea now. And part of it was just the feeling of warming up. So before I do any chest, it's pretty much the same setup every time. I'm talking some push downs, some rows to kind of get my back ready, a little bit of rotator cuff work, and then I just kind of grab a cable, just 5 reps each, just kind of a back and forth, kind of like left side, left side. But this actually feels crazy good. So there's some nuance to this, but setup as such, what is that, 90? Yeah. So kind of the sideways stance. And instead of a conventional like press out, I'm kind of doing a press across my chest, you know. So I'm trying to keep my front delt out of it, but just this action alone, I mean, I can seriously feel my upper pec flexing over my collarbone. So if I start off with like, you know, 2 or 3 sets of this, light squeezing, or not light, but, you know, moderate weight squeezing, by the time I move on to flies or chest press or something, I'm kind of already like warm and primed. Plus pumped, just because these sets are gonna, you know, get my chest going. So just a different way to start. This is like starting triceps with light rope extensions instead of really heavy close grip bench. You know, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's definitely different. So I'll start with the left side first and just keep running these back. And go down 1 notch. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna go a little heavier. But let's run that back up like 2 more times, I think. Yeah. Okay. Whew. One more like that. Yeah. I know it's not exactly conventional, but I really do like these. Whew. Let's do some pec deck. Pec deck will be good next, I think. All right, so those were pretty controlled. Let's get a little nasty here. So I'm not saying nasty like bad, just like nasty like quick. Nasty like quick is a good word, I think. Ooh, one more of those. All right, same thing. Actually, I'll change it up a little, but basically the same thing. Two. Ooh. All right, back to the cables. Let's set up a bench cable press. So the way that I'm setting this up, which actually, let me get this a little more centered. Yeah, there we go. Is I pull the cables out, we'll give them a little slack, and then put the pin in. Because I don't want to sit here and like wrench the weight up. I'm just gonna hurt my forearms. So by doing that, if you can ever, basically just recreate this setup, you're basically starting right here and then pressing. So just make it easier on yourself. You want to go hard during the set, not during the setup. But let's get real. All right. All right. Okay. it seems I've recovered from the feeler rep. So I can go a little heavier for this one. There we go. Choo. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, okay. I'm not going to do one more of those. I'm going to switch it up to just a bent over cable press. But that was good. You know, don't be afraid to do a set on a movement and then uproot and switch to something else right away. Like, I'd rather do one set that I don't really love and then move on instead of do 3 I don't like just because I told myself I was going to do it. You know, you got to be like water, man. You got to flow. But I think one more and that might be it. So, 1 notch lighter than that cable press. And instead of a squeezing, hold, burn, I'm going to do hand over hand slightly quicker. So kind of a back and forth. I did the quick single arm and then a quick pec deck, then a slower pec deck, and then kind of a slow press, and then now kind of hand over hand pump finisher. I think we got something going on here, but let's actually do this set and find out. You know. That's fucking too heavy. That's 140, let's do 130. There we go. Two. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Let's pose down to disgust. I think I called it perfectly with that movement. It's a finisher. There we go. All right. Yeah, that was good. And that was quick. Like, that wasn't anything too crazy, right? I mean, what did that? Was that 3 sets of the single arm? And then 2 pec decks. Let's say 3. I don't remember exactly. So 3 of the single arm, 2 pec decks, 1 converging cable press on the bench, and then 1 more just, you know, hand over hand free body style. Yeah, man. So wait, 3, 2, 2. Yeah, 7. That's about right. Honestly, I think my sweet spot the last few weeks or really months of dieting has kind of been around the 6 range. You know, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, just around there. Let's see how we're feeling. Waist-wise, I'm feeling rather trim, which is good for me, right? I want to feel trim in the waist. So, yeah, normally I wouldn't care to actually kind of pull the pants down for this kind of side abdominal work because bulked up, none of that detail is there. But as I get leaner, it gets a lot more freaking noticeable, that's for sure. Ooh, okay, let's actually hit a few. Oh my gosh. That most muscular was definitely the most veins I've had in just the whole torso shot, with the least amount of like just breath hold, like get lightheaded, anything. But no, let's just kind of keep running through some. A little back shot. What else am I missing? Oh my gosh. Back-to-back vacuums immediately post-lift. Those little... I took the freaking little heart rate tracker off, but I'm sure I just had a spike from having all those little breath holds in there. But no, I'm feeling very good. So, if you're concerned, like, Sam, dude, you're getting lean, which is like the whole freaking point of what I'm doing, are you getting lean too soon? Are you lean, or are you gonna flatten yourself out, start burning into your muscle before the bodybuilding show, right? It's a big ass concern. Why I wouldn't want to shrink into it. I just want to be lean. So I really don't think so. I think we may just be getting exposed to a new level of the freak factor for me, because I've never been on track to get this lean before, you know. And last prep, that was pretty good. Like, honestly, if I did a proper water cut, literally like tomorrow, like if I do really low carbs tomorrow, the next day, 2 gallons minimum of water, pull it, carb up, peak. I'm freakier than that amateur show last year, or the 2 amateur shows for sure. Like, even just being able to stand here basically relaxed. Like, I'm not even really flexing anything. I mean, you're kind of always flexing your abs a little bit, especially if you can see them. Like, even just, I'm kind of doing it a little extra. But like, even just kind of standing like totally natural, this is freaking nuts, you know? But don't forget, sometimes it's kind of an illusion with the body fat. There's a lot that can still be lost. So I've got, yay much on my stomach, and this is really good for me. Like, this is not a lot of pinchable skin for sure. Shoulders, arms, really not much either. Like, is there a little... Yeah, I'm even starting to get a little bit of tricep feathering. My triceps aren't like gargantuan, but the bigger they get, the more that'll kind of come out. And like, I can actually see where my lats tie in. Like, yeah, that's fucking crazy. This is what I'm talking about. Like, not to get off on a total rant, but when I'm talking about the single arm pullovers, where I'm kind of going here, this is that thing I'm visualizing, squeezing my lats all the way down to the bottom. And now that I'm leaner and I get like a more trim stomach, as I'm doing those pullovers, which I'll do tomorrow, I can reach around, feel my lower lat right where it inserts, and every rep, feel my lower back contract as deep as it goes all the way into that little tiny point right in the bottom. But yeah, I think I think we're just not going to be used to this level of leanness. And I hope that it doesn't like throw me off my game for the next bulk. Because every time you see yourself crazy peeled, like not even doing a flex, just like seeing myself in the mirror, being able to go, just looking crazy. Like it's something you can get used to. So obviously it's on like a different scale for me because I'm, been doing it for so long. But it's all relative. Like if you see yourself leaner than you've ever been, it's probably going to feel like in your mind subjectively pretty comparable to how I feel right now. Like when I look back at, like 16 or 17-year-old Sam in the high school weight room, I don't have it would take so long to find one, but I'm sitting there doing a phone, like side chest. This is the last period of my high school day. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. The feeling of enjoyment of a pump, it hasn't changed, so just keep that in mind. As big as somebody is, If you're pumped and they're pumped, your subjective enjoyment of the pump is probably going to be about the same. You know, that's where comparison can definitely become the thief of joy in that sense. But I need to get that cardio bike fixed. And for my instant reaction was, oh, I should dog on the cardio bike because it's not an expensive one. It's just like a personal use. Like, it's not for commercial gyms. But really, I just threaded the freaking pedal in wrong. Like, I cross-threaded it, so that's just on me. But I got to fix that because as much as I like doing cardio at the other gyms, or like pulling up to the Planet Fitness, just because there's people around and there's more energy, the convenience of the bike right there is pretty high. So I think going forward, especially as I get deeper into this whole diet, like 7 weeks out now, 3 weeks out is going to feel kind of serious. Around that 2 week out mark, that's where I'm going to kind of feel like I'm going to dig a little bit extra in terms of getting some body fat off. So I might end up upping my cardio game just for a little bit. But shit, man, we're 7 weeks out now. That's something to think about 3 weeks out. I'm just going to stay concerned about my cardio in the moment. But this is a badass lift, that's for freaking sure. I'm getting in the car a freaking happy lifter. So I'll see you in a minute. All right, yeah, there we go, back in business. So I got to make a little bit of a pit stop before getting back home. But that is cool with freaking me. So yeah, 45 minutes, and today I had to do the bike. I didn't have to do it, but I ended up doing for the 45 pedaling rather than walking. And I'll tell you why. It's because I need to get softer shoes. So I had this one pair of Converse where they were like kind of just Converse Plus. Like, they were beefy. They had a little extra padding. They were like legit leather, kind of waterproof. And I don't know what I did. I either lost them when I moved, or they were just broken from like wearing out, and like the rubber was splitting. So I finally find a bunch of them on eBay, and I ordered 2 pairs. And I ordered the wrong size. I ordered the size of Converse that fits me now, or that fits regularly. And I did not remember that I had to go up a size for these ones because they were just extra tight in the toe box. So I think now I got to order another pair of the right one, and then somehow try to maybe convince the guy that I bought it from to return it, because it said no returns. I'll figure it out. I don't know, something along those lines. But I definitely got to get a different pair. Actually, just start wearing like legit tennis shoes with some foam if I'm going to keep walking so much, because I don't think the Converse and the little just whatever, barely any rubber cushion is going to do me good. And the leaner I get, you know, obviously not to that degree yet at all, but you got some fat pads in your feet, as we've all heard from that infamous Dorian Yates video where he's talking about how walking backstage he's like limping because his feet hurt. Because the leaner you get, the less cushion you've got down there, and then you're walking on your bones, you know. So I'm not saying I'm that lean, but probably feeling it a little more so now, just because of all the extra treadmill and the fact that I'm a little bit leaner. So it's kind of all just combining at once. But the bike was kind of a good change up for today. No impact, no anything. Just sitting, make sure I got my heart rate right up in the 135s, 137s ish. And that's all I need, you know, just keep it steady. And it doesn't really matter what you're doing. The whole point of the cardio isn't as though there's something magic or specifically beneficial about the action of going incline or of stepping on a step mill or the Stairmaster or an elliptical. I don't think you're really leveraging much where it's like, oh dude, you know, you don't get it. My glutes got tore up because I was doing more hamstring focused Stairmaster, or I was doing, maybe you can get like a little, I mean, not really, man, it's just cardio. You know, the point's more so just making sure your heart rate is elevated consistently for the period of time that you're doing it, and that you don't kind of back that off too much, you know. And honestly, that's probably the best part about having the heart rate tracker now, is it keeps me from cheating myself. Because maybe I could catch myself on a bike where level 12 on this bike is actually a little bit easier than level 12 on this other bike. So If I'm just making sure, because I can look at it on my phone like constantly what my heart rate's at, well, then I can just up the difficulty. I don't even need to see the number of what level I'm doing on the pedaling difficulty, because all I'm doing is trying to get a feeling of like, okay, I can keep pedaling at this pace consistently, and my heart rate's just about where I want it. And I don't need to know what my heart rate is. I kind of have a good gist of like what that cardio feels like for me. Like if I was on a cardio bike where instead of the electric motor, which provides the resistance, it was an older one where it's just a big metal flywheel and you screw in like this plastic dowel that applies friction to it. So that's the simplest version you can get, because you're pedaling and then it's just, fighting the resistance of that friction. I wouldn't need to, know specifically how hard I'm pedaling or what the force gauge is at, because I kind of know the feeling. Like I'm aiming for just a tad bit uncomfortable. If I pedal too hard too quick, then I'm going to start burning myself out and I'm going to feel like I have to reduce the difficulty. And if I'm pedaling and I know I'm doing nothing, well, guess what? I'm doing nothing. So it's somewhere in between is where that sweet spot lies. And I see a lot of people. And I mean, it's not really an apples to apples comparison, because these guys are not trying to like seriously leverage a bunch of body fat loss or anything. But if you see someone on the treadmill and they're just kind of moseying about, or if you are setting that bar for yourself, just keep in mind, like, you really do have to provide effort during the cardio. As much as I'm going to say it's pretty mindless and it's pretty easy, you still have to at least put in, the necessary amount of effort to, get it done. And don't lie to yourself. This is the last thing I want to see. It's when guys are at like 1,000,000% incline on the treadmill, and then they're hanging off, like their whole body is leaned back 20 degrees because they're just holding on to the thing. I mean, you're still doing the cardio, of course, but the calorie reading on the machine is not going to be anywhere close to accurate. And it's just like probably an ego boost for them of like, yeah, man, I burned 3,000 calories on the treadmill doing 60% incline. Like, dude, you just kind of flopped your legs around and your body was inclined, but you weren't actually going against the resistance, So it's, anytime you see that, just feel good if you're only putting one hand gently on the treadmill for support and not so much like to actually hold yourself up. I'm not so crazy to really dabble anywhere above 6% incline. Usually 5 is a good number. For me, my cardio sessions are either 5% incline, 3 miles an hour on the treadmill, or on at least those Matrix bikes, level 12 at about 90 RPM. So both of them being just about, or the bike being about 10 calories a minute, the treadmill being a little more like 7. But as long as my heart rate is still elevated to the same level on both, I'm not really too concerned that those numbers are different. It's just kind of a gauge. But yeah, chest-wise, that was good. Chest-wise, I'm leaving the gym very excited to get home to the computer to actually look at this pose down and, kind of really see it for myself. Because there's like, I've got my real perception of what I look like in the mirror, and then I've got my later perception of like, look at myself in the video, and I kind of mess with the lighting. I don't really, like, there's a lot of edits, like when anybody clips my stuff and they repost like a pose down or anything, what they do is they really crank sharp. So when it comes to photo editing or video editing, they crank the sharpness to like 100, they crank the contrast, they crank the saturation, and it does look a little bit freakier. But unless I'm using, sometimes I'll use a camera lens. Now I'm just kind of nerding out, but sometimes I'll use a camera lens that's like meant to be cinematic, kind of. So it doesn't look perfectly clinical, clean. Like it kind of has a little extra blur to it. Sometimes if I'm using lenses like that, I'll mess with the sharpness just to make it look a little more normal. But I try not to catch myself like really even editing my pictures at all, or like over editing them, because then you're kind of just giving yourself this weird inflated perception of what you look like, and that is absolutely going to play into some more kind of body dysmorphic thoughts and feelings, because it's already crazy enough that I can come into the gym, get a crazy pump. I literally just took 3 different pre-workout products, like a stim pre, a stim free pre, so I can get some extra nitric oxide. So that I'm doing the Thavage, the freaking, oh man, I forget which one. And it's one of the stim free, but it sounds like beta alanine. And then liquid, like I'm literally giving myself the perfect setup to get as pumped and crazy as possible for just a short period of time. And then for the rest of the day, I'm gonna go back to my normal kind of look. That's already crazy. And that's already kind of hard for your mind to just wrap around. Because like I look how I look in the morning, no pump, no anything. I look how I look in the gym with a pump, freaking huge. And it's just this back and forth. But if you make it even crazier, where now you're looking at a picture of yourself where you've over edited it just to get every tiny little vein that might somehow show up on the camera be like really extra visible. Well, now your sense of self is being raised like way up here. And as soon as you do that, every time you see yourself looking a little more normal, you're spoiling it, you know? So I don't need to I feel like I don't want to chase that. Also, people who do edit their photos like that are punks because they're trying to make themselves look bigger than they really are. And for me, it's like kind of a good feeling to know I don't fuck with my stuff and I still feel cool. So there's a couple sort of motivators for not trying to tweak my stuff so much. But yeah, that all adds up to a pretty badass freaking chest day. Tomorrow for back, I expect a similarly cool pump, but I don't know, man. The leaner I get, a back pump doesn't really do it for me so much, you know, because when my back is pumped, it actually gets a little bit less interesting. It gets a little bit less grainy. Sure, it's bigger, just temporarily, because I've got, you know, more blood flow in my lats and my traps and everything. Like my back is bigger and wider, but it's not as interesting looking, you know. I think my favorites right now are a chest pump and an arm pump. When my chest is pumped up and when my arms are pumped up, I'm looking in the mirror feeling like a freaking beast because I'm just bigger and kind of wider than normal in the torso, which is cool. Quad pump is cool, but the leaner I get to, quads when they're unpumped, actually I feel look a little bit cooler because that's when you can really see all the grain and separation. Like, I know that's weird for me to say, but you know, some pumps when I'm leaner I do value more than others. But it's you know, it's like when your parents say they don't have a favorite. They might like one more in a different way, but every body part gets equal love on an unconditional basis for being pumped. But sometimes I'm a little more excited for one than the other. So I'm gonna go home, get some food in my system. I got a bunch of tuna salad in the fridge waiting for me, and then a lot of rice cakes, a lot of canned chicken, a lot of strained ground beef, really lean. I got a bunch of leanish top round steaks that I gotta leave in the oven and, you know, sort of cook and get all the fat off of. A lot of basic foods, man. A lot of, I don't want to say a lot of nothing, but a lot of relatively plain meals going down right now, which, I mean, kind of the simpler the better, I'm starting to find, because it just goes through my system easier. I feel like I'm more efficiently extracting the energy from the foods that I'm eating, when instead of eating a bunch of random junk, which in off season there is still kind of a point because you're getting calories, but dieting down at least, I do feel good when I'm not going off plan, because it's just, you just kind of keep I feel like I'm not clogging up my filters. Like the more that I'm just eating really plain basic foods, the better. But you know, fast forward a couple months, once I start gaining size, I'm gonna let loose just a bit. But now I'm catching myself in a ramble. I got a couple more places to go before I go home and edit this all together. But shit, man, 49 days out, 49 freaking days out. I'm feeling good. I am feeling rather good, that's for sure. So I'll see you tomorrow for some back.